to Revolution Radio, freedomslips.com, 100% listener-supported radio, and now we return you to your host.
For the spirit through the power of lyrics.
Without hope, can't cope. Faith is the antidote. The remedies to extremities, cause life can make you choke. Hesitate, then you're caught up just like a bag of dope. Separate, then we all split just like a cantaloupe. If you see, then you're free. These are words you need to quote. But if you don't, then you won't. Then you slaves on a boat. Cause freedom only comes with the more that you know. Or you a puppet on the string acting dumb in the show. And how would you know if you don't feed your soul? And you're wondering why your world's out of control. You need to be bold, grab a hold of this gold, and let me lead you down that path that's narrow. When life gets rough, I still gotta roll with it. They on the streets and they blast. When times get tough, I still gotta go get it. I feel like I'm dying and crash. When it beats me down, I won't live. I love life with a pass. When it calls my blood, I cope with Christ off the peace everlasting. You want peace to increase and a piece of the pie. The peace everlasting's right in front of your eyes. The last question you asking, where do I go when I die? Till they come by blasting in the drive-by. And the truth only hurts when it's hidden by lies. Cause 9 times out of 10, it's all supersized. The real, so get your combo meal, don't spill, don't cry. Food for the spirit through lyrics in the drive-through line. When life gets rough, I still gotta roll with it. They on the streets and they blast. When times get tough, I still gotta go. I feel like I'm dying and crash. When it beats me down, I won't live. I love life with a passion. When it calls my blood, I cope with Christ off this peace everlasting. You can only say face when you're dealing with a man till you face to face with the creator of the plan. Let me cut to the chase, a pair of footprints in the sand. Through the power of grace, God has you in his hand. Cause we all stressed out, cause there's chaos in the land. Got you kicking and screaming like your name is Jackie Chan. So what's it gonna take for all of us to understand that the price that Christ paid takes us out the frying pan? When life gets rough, I still gotta roll with it. On the streets and they blast. When times get tough, I still gotta go. I feel like I'm dying and crash. When it beats me down, I won't live. I love life with a passion. When it calls my blood, I cope with Christ off this peace everlasting. Now the peace that he offers is easy to obtain, like a smile or a snapshot or a picture in a frame. We should always count our blessings, we're so quick to complain, to keep us from the lessons that can lead us to pain. So put your worries in his hands, don't hold back or refrain, or find yourself on your knees praying about the same thing. So use your heart and not your brain, need to keep you from the strain. And abundance and happiness is the car switch your lane. When life gets rough, I still gotta roll with it.
All right, we're live. Studio B, Revolution Radio. This is the Humpday Roundtable. Sorry about all that 23 minutes of problematic confusion. This is Rectify.
This is Heather.
Happy Hump Day.
Happy Hump Day.
Oh, what a stressful evening. But yeah, we're here. So if you hear us, you're there too. It's May 28th, 2013. Yeah, we're gonna move on. What's up, everybody? We've been joined with Rick.
Hey, what's
Zach,
going on?
Steve, and the Greek.
Yo.
Tonight,
Zach
Heather actually was given the reins of the horse. I told her, go ahead and grab a topic. She said, no problem. And she didn't let me know about it till tonight. Heather, you want to introduce your topic?
Well, I thought maybe we could save it for last since we've got so many people, hijackers here, and Travesty and Rick, and everybody's here. So I'm sure that they've all got interesting things to discuss with us. So why don't we save the best thing for last?
Alrighty.
Okay.
Well, that's a secret. I don't know. So it's all you.
Okay.
Run this dog.
Okay, well, what I wanted to talk about was eliminating stress and stabilizing unbound awareness. So, how are you, hijacker? Is he there?
I'm okay. The server started messing up right at the end of my show.
I don't know if you noticed that, but
No, I didn't.
about 15 minutes before the end of my show, it messed up for just a minute or so, and then I went, and then a couple minutes later, it dropped for a few seconds, and then I finished the show, and then it messed up. I was going to hold the server, but then it just went haywire. So I don't know what's with Studio A. It's got to be something at the station, something that's gone wrong there. Because if Tones could fix it, he would have fixed it.
Right.
So,
yeah, I think Tones a lot. He's given us his second chance romance number for the studio for call-ins, and that's 347-688-2952. So it's the same number as the studio line, except it's 2952 instead of 02.
Right. For people who need a piece of paper to write it down, that's 347-688-2952.
Yep. And thanks for hanging in there, Hijacker. You're the best, you know.
Well, I can go a little bit on this. Like I say, my window kind of closes just by, the way my life's laid out and family stuff like that. So,
yeah. Well, how's everything going?
Go ahead, Heather. Sorry.
Oh, yeah, I was just wondering how everything is going with your family. You haven't mentioned them lately, and just making sure that everything's going.
Oh, it's going actually great. Good. All of them. I mean, it's to a fault. It's sort of like, I know the world is collapsing around us and all this stuff that's happening everywhere, and it's just not touching really this whole area, these people. Our economy up here is good. I mean, Western Washington, if you want to move, this would be a good place to move. I mean, it's
You must
insulated.
be psychic.
Huh?
You must be psychic. I was just thinking about moving 15 minutes ago.
Yeah, well, no, that's what I would encourage people. I don't want to do any guerrilla marketing for Western Washington. I'm not trying to, but, I mean, I've lived in a lot of parts of the country, and, this is an international city. Weather's good. You got a lot of environmentalists up here, which are to the extreme on the liberal end, but the trade-off is that they've kept the water clean. They've kept, they just don't butcher the land. There's certain ways, and so it creates a sort of an environment that's very nice.
It sustains itself. I know there's lots of pretty flowers up there.
Oh, flowers! They got gardens. They got it all. They got it all. It's the major hub before you jump either to Alaska or to Asia, to China, Japan.
Oregon's pretty popular for freedom survivalists.
Yeah, same cut of the cloth. Yeah.
Right.
How are you doing, Trav?
I'm all right. Tired as all hell. Been a long day.
Yeah, how's everybody in your house doing?
People are okay. My grandmother's not well, so pray for her.
Oh, that was my main concern.
Yeah, I don't know how she's gonna recover from her last procedure, and it's just the ongoing process of aging.
I understand. Well, just give her lots of love, love from me.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, everybody say a prayer too. Oh, so last week we were talking about solutions to all the problems, all the crap that's being thrown into our air, water, food, minds. And we really didn't get far. I remember Travesty coming on and, we wanted to get into it. I don't know, we got off topic, I guess. It wasn't your fault, of course, but... solutions from the sodium fluoride, the aspartame, the GMOs, the MSGs, the BPAs, the EMF, the electronic harassment, the mind control on the TV.
I had a guy came to my house, rang my personal doorbell to like my little side door here in the house randomly, and it was like raining heavily, and I didn't know who he was, and he was talking. He's part of like some group called the Citizens Campaign for the Environment. citizenscampaign.org, and he was talking about how they were, kind of like he is one of those,
.org, probably called himself a church. 501.
No. They're like this legitimate political group working mostly in New York State. But then they recently set up shop in Connecticut and working on all sorts of things involving things like how companies like pharmaceutical companies will haphazardly dump like chemicals or whatever into the water and things like that, and doing some various work with that. And I had a short conversation with him, said like, let me check out information and see if I am in agreement with what your group does, because I always have to check my stuff out about it. And then I got into a conversation with him about fluoride, because we were talking about, contamination and things like that. And I told him about the fluoride deception film, to look that up on YouTube. I gave him a brief explanation about the whole thing. I didn't waste too much of his time because it was raining. He was sitting there with an umbrella, and I was just and I thanked him for being out here in the rain, and let him go. And then I checked out the information and sent an email out to a couple of guys, also asking them how they felt about fluoride in the water and explaining my position on it. So I use it as an opportunity to spread the word.
Were they shocked? Were they at awe? Or?
I haven't gotten a reaction yet. The other guy is going to go look into it. I didn't get too deep. I didn't get too deep into the conspiracy, because the last thing I want to do is take a guy who maybe you're atypical kind of like politically aware, but politically aware because they listen to CNN, kind of politically aware.
You don't want to scare the shit out of them. But
yeah,
the way I do it is I say, look at the fact
I have to hold back my hijackerisms.
Right.
I don't jump. I can't like sit there and talk about pharmaceutical dumping and then jump right into the reptilian agenda. I'll leave
watch
that.
them do a Harry Carey right in front of you. But yeah, what I like to do is when it comes to the sodium fluoride, I just have someone look at the back of their toothpaste container, their tube, and it says if swallowed, contact poison control. And just look at the ingredients list. What's the number one ingredient? Sodium fluoride.
I told him, listen, fluoride is listed as a poison, which is why we don't swallow fluoride toothpaste, and there's a warning label on it. And although they say that it's safe levels in the water, let's say there is no conspiracy behind fluoride. The real problem is that they're just adding this to the water like we want it. Without really talking to us about it, and that's just part of the general water table, and we're given no choice in the matter at all.
Yeah, and proof will show that it causes fluorosis and damage to your teeth. It's not good for your teeth.
No, it's not.
I've been off fluoride toothpaste for like over a year now. My teeth are almost exactly the same. They feel fine. And you know what? My life is just better in general. My head has a greater sense of clarity ever since I did it. I'm very conscious of how my mind has been since I got off of fluoride, and the fact that nothing has changed in my oral hygiene for the worse is telling. So if people, so I'll tell people about the fluoride deception. They'll look at me like I'm stupid, and I'll be like, here, look at my teeth. You see that? That's a year of no fluoride. My teeth are freaking fine.
You know why that is, right? Because they've been raised since we were kids being told that 9 out of 10 dentists say that fluoride's good. They parade experts in front
I don't
of
think
us.
that's what the 9 out of 10 dentists say. I think that they say that 9 out of 10 dentists probably recommend brushing.
Well, you could say whatever out of whatever dentists. The point is the American Dental Association backs it. It's the ADA, and thus, dentists are going to support that, because going against the ADA as a dentist is like going against the Bar Association as a lawyer. It
Or
just
the
doesn't.
AMA. Right.
What's sickening is that sodium fluoride is actually a side product of the aluminum and steel industries all around the world. Mostly from China we get it sent from. And the way, instead of just dumping it into our streams and lakes and rivers, they made it into it's good for you campaign. And they put it in our water supply.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's the oldest trick in the book. You put experts in front of people on TV and they lie their ass off, and then everybody buys into it.
Yeah, and people want to be deceived. They don't check their sources. I remember I was listening. One of the best things that I took away from a Mad Painter show the other night with his guest doing the remote viewing was the whole matter of just like, there's a lot of amazing things he said, but something I really appreciated and had to remind myself of is, for all the work that we do, at the end of the day, the part of the population that it will always fall on deaf ears on are the ones that want to have deaf ears. It's that willpower to resist new information. Here we are giving you new information, and you're more interested in turning it off, despite the fact that if you do 3 seconds of research on the internet in real time as we are speaking, you will find, at the very least, that there is validation to what we say, and yet you will sit there and you'll never make a move on it until the news all of a sudden tells you to be outraged. You know what I mean? It's like, now America's outraged at the IRS. Why? Because the news, primarily Fox News, wants you to be outraged at the IRS. And yes, we should be outraged at the IRS, but not because Fox News tells us so.
So fluoride is one thing that we actually have a choice that we can get away from. We can choose not to ingest our tap water or the beer even, because I'm sure it's all in there. They use tap water to make our beer. But there's things like radiation that there's nothing we can do about except to take it and work. And I'm going to play a clip because I live right next to San Onofre nuclear power plant. And it's been shut down for almost 2 years now, both reactors. It's a 2-reactor facility. And the reason they shut it down, they had piping. They brought in new piping. They were supposed to do an upgrade on all their piping for all the boiling hot water. And it was from Mitsubishi Corporation out of Japan. And these pipes were crap. They basically banged against each other as the reactors ran. But they're about to... they want to turn these reactors back on. We just had a small power outage 2 days ago. I think this is why. Because they're about to bring this damn plant, at least one of the reactors, back up. And they said, as long as we just bring one reactor back up to 70%, everybody will be fine and the thing's going to run okay. But I wanted to play a clip of a whistleblower right outside of that reactor. He doesn't want to be known. But he works there, and he's saying it's the worst idea ever. But here's that clip.
For the first time, a source from inside the San Onofre power plant is speaking out, warning that restarting the San Diego County power plant is too dangerous.
Team 10 investigator Mitch Blocker talked to this man and to another expert. Both are sounding the alarm.
There's something grossly wrong.
This anonymous inside source from San Onofre came forward to tell Team 10 he is worried about the nuclear power plant restarting. He is not alone. To understand the concerns, we have to take you inside the concrete containment walls, which house steam generators unique to the plant. Japanese manufacturer Mitsubishi Heavy Industries built replacement generators for the aging nuclear plant in 2010 and 2011. The new generators were designed to provide low-cost power for decades. Instead, they shut it down in just 11 months because of a radiation leak.
The manufacturer, I believe, does not have an experience with this side of a unit.
Dr. Joe Hoppenfeld spent his entire professional life working with steam generators and nuclear power. Though he lives in Maryland, he is familiar with San Onofre, which is run by...
By the way, many experts will tell you, as well as I, that nuclear power is one of the stupidest ways to boil frickin' water. Back to the clip.
Yeah.
Southern California Edison, Hoppenfeld used to work for the Nuclear Regulatory Commission. He says the 2011 radiation leak that shut down the plant revealed a potentially catastrophic problem with the tubes that carry scalding water.
As far as I'm concerned, I believe it's a very serious risk.
Tubes carry water to and from the reactor core. This creates steam, which turns the turbines and produces energy.
The tubes operate under very high internal pressure.
There is no protection provided between the tubes, from tubes in the rows hitting each other.
Our sources say the redesign of the Mitsubishi generators had unintended consequences. Tubes began hitting each other, creating cracks.
These tubes were hitting each other, and that's dangerous.
This safety engineer worked at San Onofre. He has 25 years' experience in the nuclear field. He wants to remain anonymous because he told Team 10 he fears for his safety.
When they made these changes, they did not look at the academic research.
Dr. Hoppenfeld and our inside source say the tube's movement, banging into each other, led to unprecedented tube failures. Out of 19,400 tubes, the NRC found more than 17% were damaged. Hoppenfeld says the worst-case scenario is a main steamline break, which he says could be caused by tubes cracking, the tube walls thinning, or metal fatigue. Our Song's insider and Hoppenfeld say if there is a steamline break, there is potential for the reactor core to overheat, which could mean a full or partial meltdown.
Many tubes, and I don't know how many, have exhausted their fatigue life. They don't have any fatigue life left.
SoCal Edison proposed a solution to only operate Unit 2 at 70% power. Both Team 10 sources say that may reduce risk, but is no guarantee of safety.
I don't try to scare anybody. You can live there, but you should know what the risk is.
Both believe no one can predict what will happen.
If an accident like this were to happen, San Onofre's emergency plan is not geared to handle it, and it could cause a public disaster.
Now, SoCal Edison maintains the plant is safe to restart. They declined an on-camera interview, but sent us a brief statement that reads in part, while Dr. Hoppenfeld has an extensive resume, his Song's analysis is significantly flawed, reflecting his lack of specific expertise in tube vibration analysis provided by 3 experts.
His expertise in tube vibration analysis. That's what Edison is saying against this guy. You know, saying, oh no, what this guy is, he's totally wrong because he's not an expert in tube vibration analysis. Back.
That performed SCE's analysis. Mitsubishi Heavy Industries also sent us a statement. It reads in part, the design went through an extensive review process which included the participation of third-party experts, and MHI believed they would operate as expected, safely and successfully. No safety measures were sacrificed in the design.
And, of course, if you want to see those full statements, we've got them up on our website, 10news.com.
Yeah, so what do we do about radiation, Greek? Welcome back, brother.
Hey, I'm going to mute out, and I'll be back in a few minutes.
All right, sounds good. Steve, any ideas? Just take your iodine pills.
I think one of the principal problems with radiation, as I understand how reactors work and whatnot, is that, you know, you've got this thing that's consistently leaking, which is part of how it's doing its heat emission to be used as to create this.
Yeah, most people don't even know. It's just it's a reaction that lasts for millions and millions of years, just to boil water, to create steam, to push turbines, to create electricity, you know, to spin generators.
So they rectify. There's another way to look at it. But go ahead, Steve. If you
agree.
No, please, Greek.
Do you know how I often ask the question, do we need to kind of re-examine conventional wisdom and conventional concepts? And I've asked the question, why does a bucket of water weigh more than a bucket of air if water is H2O? And if you look at all the information they're giving us about that, air should be 40 to 60% heavier than water, regardless of if it's liquid, solid, or gas. So the same thing is with radiation. Are we looking at what's being told about it, what we're being told about it objectively? And yes, this is the thing, though. The more dire and less, what would you say, radiation poisoning effects of the environment and the very act of running radioactive material on the surface is very, very, very dangerous. And the consequences are severe. So I found out that the more that the subject leans in that direction, the more difficult it is to reason once you start talking about things that are outside of what's called conventional information, because it's not even conventional
about
wisdom.
15 miles downwind of this reactor, man.
Right, I know. But here's the thing. If you look at it objectively, these are very, very heavy elements, and there's different types of radiation. There's one that's the residual once the element has been in a space and removed, and then there's the other effect, right, where the element is in very fine form and it's constantly radiating, right? And you're in the same space with it, right? So these heavy elements, in order for them to travel downwind, they have to be very, 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 very small and almost colloidal form. And they don't form that form unless they're made to be that small. Does that make any sense?
Yeah.
Okay.
Kind of. I'm more like a 5-year-old when it comes to grasping things sometimes, so I need it, like, delivered that way.
Well, there's a famous map.
Okay, let's replace radioactivity with lead, and you guys are aware that lead is very heavy. This stuff is twice the weight of lead. And if I said you're breathing lead in the air, how would you get lead in the air? Through dust, right?
All right, so
very
what you're saying is...
Okay, hold on. Oh, can I sort of step in here?
Yeah, we've been joined by SJ. SJ, welcome.
Yeah, hi, gang. Well, one of the ways it moved from Fukushima is it was turned into nanite-sized particles and came up with the currents.
Oh, hold on, SJ. Stop, SJ. Sorry to interrupt. That's the point. We cannot. You just put out a speed bump that's 11 feet tall. The car that I'm driving can't go over it. Stop right there. How did it turn into nanite particles?
Well, with the explosions that occurred and the particle disintegration taking place internally.
Are you satisfied with that explanation?
It's the quickest one I can come up to without consulting my notes. But let me put it this way.
That needs to be re-examined.
Hold on. I think the important thing is that we have nanite-sized particles that automatically glomp onto a rain, a moisture particle in a cloud, or any current like the big one. And they travel along, and that's why when it rains here in British Columbia, our particle count goes from, it's fairly high nowadays, anywhere between 5 and 12 up to the high 40s. So that's an indicator that something is happening. Particles small enough to be attracted to a raindrop seems logical. The possibility of nanite-sized particles being created in the explosions and the reaction is taking place in the fuel rod exposure and the what do they call it when it goes melts down to the bottom of the earth, to the core of the earth. What do they call that?
China syndrome. It's all fairy tale.
They made a movie on it.
Yeah, that's fairy tale. That's not what happens. It amalgamates. And but that's okay. I mean, I'm not here to. I think I'm going to yield because I cannot express information that I've gotten from people that actually work with the stuff.
Right on. There's a more complicated reaction, but basically
it's not. It's actually very.
Tonight we're talking about solutions.
It's very simple.
Yeah. Now there is a solution. Hey.
What's
one of the reasons I called up.
Bogus.
So one of the reasons I called up is about an article that you turned me on to, Greek, that's really fascinating. We're talking about really interesting things with Brown's gas generators. Now, Canada, it turns out, is buying a lot of Brown's gas generators.
That was Dude Guy, by the way.
Was it Dude Guy that turned me on to that?
Yeah.
Boy, I'll tell you, that's brilliant.
Give him the credit.
Right on, bro. Right on. So anyhow, what I did was I followed the chase and found out that Canada is investing in a whole bunch of these. The technology indicates that it reliably transmutes radioactivity. Now, we have a huge amount of radioactivity, and I think it would take millions and millions of these to even start to make a dent, but we might save the lives and the DNA of some children. And I know we've discussed DNA.
Raw iron, let me just cut to the chase. Raw iron, even with an oxide level on it, like a basic oxide, like an Fe2O2 or an Fe2O3, right?
Yeah,
even a specular hematite has an affinity for this material. So one thing would be go to the Golden Gate Bridge with 1 million gallons of zip strip and strip all the paint off of it and have it all stick to that. Anyway, just joking.
That's not a bad idea. Of course, it would be an interesting project because building that thing, gobbled up a few people. But so we do have a possible. What I've been doing is looking for possible solutions to this. We should definitely shut down every a nuclear power plant in the United States for sure. I mean,
you try that, they'll throw you in jail if you try to shut it down.
Things change remarkably fast sometimes, and I have an eye that is able to look easily 100 years in our future. And it all starts with somebody saying, hey, we ought to do that.
There won't be any nuclear power plants in 100 years, and in 100 years, young people won't be going out of puberty until they're 40 or 50.
Maybe. I'll tell you, one of the things I also wanted to mention is there's more horsepower in a tidal drop. And, all the other accesses to energy that we have. For God's sake, we've got a fusion reactor where we can see it. I think that's pretty cool, being able to watch a fusion reaction, the sun. So really, all we need to do is change our minds about what we are going to accept. And we've got the ways to change it. But, you and I daily are watching to see how that knowledge and attitude grows, and certainly encouraging it, right? So it takes time.
Yeah.
It's 1,000 newbies every day that need the same old thing told to them to tune them in.
Well, nature has a wonderful way of dealing with it. When the radiation, if the radiation were to reach a level in the environment that would compromise certain natural functions, especially the vegetative state of the planet, she'll throw you into an ice age faster than you can blink 10 times.
Hence finding some cud still unchewed inside of mammoths' mouths in Siberia.
And the radioactive belts in our stratigraphy.
Yeah, she'll throw you into an ice age so fast that by the time you get up to make a cup of tea and come and sit down, you probably won't be around. You'll freeze that fast.
So I've got an important question in relation to this whole issue with the main thing, which is what I was sort of bringing up in my concern, and that concern comes from my current understanding of how nuclear power works, is that, it's got this whole byproduct issue, which is where a lot of nuclear waste from nuclear power plants comes from, is the disposal of, I guess maybe the nuclear rods or something to that effect.
Can I break in here a bit? Right now,
nuclear power, make that decision.
Let me interrupt you a second.
What do we do about that? What do we do about what's left over? We have to continue.
We've got the Hanford nuclear waste depository leaking into the Columbia River right now.
Right.
So what we do about it, there ain't nothing we're going to do about it. If they let it go a little bit further, they'll be evacuating Portland.
Okay, SJ, before you continue, I want to address something, and then you continue with
Sure, go ahead.
Nuclear power is really an oxymoron. It's really still steam power.
Right.
Over?
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Well, absolutely.
You can make steam. There's so many ways. If it's the steam, they're not going after nuclear power. They're going after steam power. These guys are not that advanced. How many times have you heard the Greeks say, well, what would happen if you gave an 8-year-old $1 trillion in a debit card? Give an 8-year-old $100 billion in a debit card and just watch him, and then go ahead and watch what's going around with all these scientific morons. But anyway.
Okay.
Everybody knows that thought.
At any rate,
we're
we've got all this energy. Why the hell don't we use it instead of poisoning ourselves, boiling water with nuclear reactors? Yeah, it's a good argument. Go ahead, please. Thank you for letting me interrupt you.
SJ, interrupt me, man. Hey,
it's a pleasure, SJ. Go ahead.
No.
That's an interruption. Keep interrupting.
What does that even mean?
We love you, SJ.
Look at the etymology of interrupt.
Oh, I got it on my bookmarks. Hold on, I'll look.
Oh no, I've created a monster. Hey.
I love it when it lightens up, you know. When we gloom and doom a little bit too much, I think it actually bogs our thinking down.
Because you know why? You hear the Greek talking about stuff, and you know what? It's all going to be not only fine. When things get wrapped up and restarted, it's going to be so cool and so great. You cannot imagine how wonderful it's going to be. It's going to be way beyond. I mean, imagine what you consider to be the most beautiful and positive existence, and then put like an exponential number of like 10 or 100 on it. It's beyond imagination.
And a cherry on the top.
So is it beyond?
Oh yeah.
Is it beyond Star Trek?
Oh, I mean, it's beyond anything that's been portrayed in any science fiction or any poetic or prose at the moment.
We're going great.
Break
Not
stomach.
to interrupt.
We'll be back in 2 and 2. We love you. Radio at freedomslips.com. We'll be right back after this message.
How dare you, sir? How dare you? No, how dare you? No, how dare you? How dare you? No, how dare you? You dare condemn me? How dare you? How dare me when I how dare you? You big sleepyhead.
Hello all. Thanks for tuning in to Revolution Radio. We are the #1 public access commercial-free internet talk radio station on the web, with between 12 and 16 hours of live programming per day, bringing you news, politics, entertainment, and just plain human interactive talks, which are extremely informative and successful nightly open caller roundtables. And how do we do this? Through the support of volunteers and donations from good listeners like you. So if you're digging what you hear, and we are bringing you an entertaining and informative service, please visit our site support page and donate to the cause. Keep us live, keep us kicking, help us bring you the talk. We are already here. Help keep us here. Revolution Radio, freedomslips.com. Revolution Radio!
This is Thomas, a.k.a. a Mad Painter. I'd like you to join me Monday nights, 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for Open Canvas. Don't forget to bring an open mind.
Yes, folks, that's right. Bring an open mind to an open canvas. Again, that is Monday nights, 10 p.m. Eastern. UFOs to government corruption. This is Revolution Radio, freedomslips.com. You don't need to expect us. We're already here.
Now you can share the topics that drive the discussions of your favorite talk shows with TalkStream Live's topic-driven talk radio. List and promote real-time talk radio topics, or post the topics that you want to hear. Hot topics are tweeted and retweeted, and include simple click-to-listen audio links. The future of talk radio is topic-driven talk radio. Available now at TalkStreamLive.com.
Imagine a trip into the very soul of the magic, legend, and lore of ancient England. For 10 stupendous days and 9 dazzling nights, come on a once-in-a-lifetime trip to become part of the mystery with a tour into the heart of the crop circle phenomenon. Join me, Sean David Morton, Dr. Susan Shumsky, and crop circle legend Glenn Burrows for a trip to the sacred sites, crop formations as they appear from July 6th to July 15th of 2013. Fly in a helicopter above these glyphs made by beings from beyond the stars. Have private access to Stonehenge, the Roman mineral springs of Bath Spa. Visit the heart of Camelot's Glastonbury tour, known as the Isle of Avalon, and King Arthur's Chalice Well, and many other stunning sacred sites. And be VIPs at the World Crop Circle Conference, where we will ponder what it all means with the greatest experts in the world. Come with us. Be part of the mystery for a once-in-a-lifetime tour. July 6th to the 16th. Early bird specials are running out. Visit our website at www.cropcircletours.com. That's cropcircletours.com. Answer the call of mystery and adventure. cropcircletours.com, because you need to know.
Jerry, don't let's ask for the moon. We have the stars.
Hello world, join me, Helena Phoenix, on Time to Shine here at Revolution Radio, where I'll be discussing quantum jumping, ancient knowledge, psychology, alchemy, healing, diet, and current news. I'll be covering all topics pertaining to self-empowerment and personal power. So join me Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays, 4 a.m. to 7 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, here at Revolution Radio, freedomslips.com. Because you know what? It's our time to shine.
I never dreamed that any mere physical experience could be so stimulating.
Revolution Radio. You're listening to Revolution Radio, freedomslips.com, 100% listener-supported radio, and now we return you to your host.
And we're back. You're listening to Revolution Radio, freedomslips.com. This is Heather, and we're doing the Wednesday Roundtable. And I'm joined by my host, Rectify, Rick.
What's
Travesty,
up? Happy Hump Day.
our revered SJ, the Greek, and the Hijacker. We've got all the all-stars with you tonight. We're all sitting here at the round table, just sitting here looking at each other. And I just think that I should plug the station probably. You're listening to freedomslips.com, and we're all listener-supported. That means that the only way that we keep this going is with the donation and the support from the people that listen to the station. So if any of these hosts, give you any insight or enlightenment, you should donate to the station to keep it going. And I think we should appreciate Hijacker for making this all possible. This platform is awesome, and I don't think that you'll be able to find it anywhere else in the airwaves as you know it at this time.
Nicely done, Heather.
Thanks.
How are you tonight?
I'm fair to poor.
Well, I've been wanting to cheer you up because I know that when these full moons slide out, that it's common for people, to feel down, right? A little blue.
Yeah.
And I was thinking, but on the other hand, a good cure for that is to go out and watch the moon for a while. It really is beautiful. You had any clear skies?
Yes, absolutely. The moon is huge here in Arizona. It's like beaming.
Well,
Isn't that cool?
SJ, and Heather, you're familiar with circadian rhythm where the metabolism slows down with each quarter of the moon?
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
So when you read in the ancient texts, you have 4 quarters, right?
Right.
And a month is defined by 4 weeks. And when you read in the ancient texts about resting on the 7th day, it's referring to the moon cycle. It has nothing to do with a ridiculous calendar or a ridiculous religion or anything
I agree.
like that.
Yeah, that's how I go.
If you look at the Genesis, it says, for example, in Genesis, I put the luminaries, the moon, the star, and the sun in the sky, so you can keep these things. Not some ridiculous, but by the way, I don't want to get into that. I've said that before.
I'll tell you the truth. I really entertained the idea, considering the placement of the moon. Like, I think pretty much all of us here have actually spent a fair amount of time thinking about its position, its orbit, its distance, its size, the fact that it rings, and it all leads one to think, boy, I'll tell you, if somebody put that where it is, they were sure good engineers.
Mm-hmm. I'll tell you what, for sure, it's much bigger and much further away than they tell you. That's for sure, because they use the same
interesting
system.
thing about it is it exactly blocks the sun at certain points in its orbit.
Well, it's exactly the same size as the sun in opposite seasons. If you measure the disk of the moon when it's full in the winter, it's exactly the size of the disk of the sun in the winter. I mean, in the summer. They oppose each other. One is the male, one is the female energy up in the sky. But the thing is, one way to measure a society is how they view reality, right? And,
absolutely. Go ahead.
And if you're let's say, visit a group of people or a society, wherever it might be, and I mean in the universe as well, and you see that they've lost their grip on reality, how can you approach a group like that with anything real? You have to discuss, when you're in Disneyland, you've got to discuss Daffy Duck, Goofy, Mickey Mouse, and the teacup ride. Anything outside of that, they'll say, hey, we paid a ticket to be in Disneyland.
That's like most people in the world today. They live within Disneyland, and they never come to find that there's an Anaheim outside full of violence and disturbances.
Right. It's kind of like scientists just discovered this new species of mouse called Mickey Mouse, and I'm saying, dude, there's no such thing as Mickey Mouse. Disney made it up, and it's actually a guy in a suit or a drawing. Well, you see, this is what's going on the planet, and it's on a multiple level. It's on every society at the moment, because even the societies that adhered to wisdom of some degree have abandoned it. And that's just a sign of the times, and then the next thing. Here, Vanessa,
well, the big challenge, hold on a second, if you don't mind. Thank you. I think that this is a good time to think about the solutions. You know, what do you do about it? What you do is you teach, you educate, you try to sort out the BS, you try to give people legitimate footing to base their moves on, right?
Yep. Very gradual, and you have to be very, very patient. And at the same time, you have to watch out that you are also maintaining a certain level of quality that you like to maintain, right? Now, there's an interesting verse that says, be in the world, but don't be of it.
Well, every possession you buy makes you a caretaker. I know that one.
Yeah, exactly. Well, you've heard, but regarding the moon again, the ancients always settled their debts when they had a new moon, which was the full moon, not the dark moon that's recognized.
Well, not all of the ancients, but some of the ancients, we might as well start here, right?
Right. Well, and they reckoned it with the...
More specific language does count. We're going to have to tighten up our language. Boy,
Well, the reason I say all of the ancients is because they didn't reckon... what happened was the current system is with a calendar, a work schedule. The Mayans got away from the celestial as well and started developing a mathematical one, a fictional one, and most societies did. But when I say ancients, I'm talking about the main axial period that happened around 560, 600 BC. Because after then, there was an axial period that everyone went ethereal and mathematical and calculating.
I got a question for the Jacker. If that was 500 BC, I'm wondering when the Nephilim were thrown down to Earth. Jacker?
2500 BC.
Yeah, pre-BC.
They went into Canaan.
So a lot of people say the Earth's only 6,000 years old, so that would make sense, right?
No, it's not. No,
yeah, well, what happened with
old.
these ice ages? How comes they seem to indicate a longer period?
No, it's not 6,000 years. It's not even in the scriptures. It's very clear. It's very clear that there was a major destruction roughly 14,000 years ago. And it took 6,000 years to rebuild it, almost 7,000 years, and we're living about 7,000 years after that rebuild period. Now, if you want to talk about what they teach in folklore and whatever, there's no text. There's no, absolutely, I assure you this, there's no text on the planet that goes more than 100 years or 150 years old that states that creation was 6,000 years ago. This is a new phenomenon. This is absolute idiocracy.
It's a question of interpretation.
We've digressed, guys. We're looking for solutions to problems.
Okay, you got access to really good sea salt?
I don't.
Okay, there's the best sea salt is one that is harvested with just non-metallic tools, because when you touch a piece of metal to it, it changes its quality, like the Celtic salt.
What's the sea salt for?
Okay, and if you hold on, and if you got access to barley, and you got access to wheatgrass, it's a real good way to start pulling those heavy metals out of your body.
Too?
Yeah,
but if you're going to do wheatgrass, you don't put it in a metal blender, because then it's defeating the whole purpose of taking wheatgrass. Like some people do shots.
Okay, unless it's a 316 stainless, 316L. Now they use 304, and 316's got some very interesting properties. It is metal, but the alloy in a 316L stainless, the alloy of iron, molybdenum, chromium, nickel, and a tiny, tiny, tiny bit of copper makes each metal annihilate the property of the other metal, and it's probably the most neutral metal you can get. There's a nitrile 50 stainless, nitrated 50, but that's not really on the market available, and that's even superior in quality.
When it comes down to it, you get what you pay for then when you buy your appliances. Right?
Yeah. Now listen here, Dan. When you state a given as a given, you need to back it up with documentation. Now, there's a whole bunch of alloys of stainless steel.
Exactly.
Papers, please, SJ, really?
Yeah.
You want it up in Canada?
Okay, here's the documents. Yeah. What we want to do, SJ, you mentioned this before. Mark Twain said, Samuel Clemens says, what's going on is a lot of people are representing reality with words and paper, and now they're just talking about the paper.
Yep.
So the documentation...
I love stealing stuff off Mark Twain. He was so brilliant.
Yeah.
Now, we can take a lesson from Mark Twain in terms of being really getting to the nitty-gritty with the least amount of words, although he could be very wordy when he felt like it. I love his books.
Yeah, Samuel Clemens, yeah.
God, he was so good. So there you got it.
Now, here's an interesting thing, and this is not conventional. I'm going to share it. This is an interesting discovery with ionization. You could be really, really close to a nuclear reactor and measure very low. You go out 30 miles, it starts measuring higher. You go out another 10 miles, it measures very, very low. You go out another 40 miles, it registers even higher than when you were close. You go out another 100 miles, there's a null zone. So you have these null zones and these amplified zones around it. Does that make any sense?
Well, I recently got a paper on just that says exactly the opposite. However, there's certainly room for exploration of that particular statement of yours.
Right. So in other words, when you drop a rock or a pebble in a still pond of water, you see the ripples that emanate outside of it, right? And you have peaks and troughs, like a sine wave almost, right?
Yeah, that doesn't necessarily indicate that the situation you have is covered by that principle.
Right.
So that's something we have to keep in mind. If we're going to explore advanced nuclear treatment, we've got to be realistic about what it is.
Well, let me just jump in here just a minute. Alrighty. Two things or three things, and I don't know how we went from nuclear power to the moon to Mark Twain to salt. I mean, it's undisciplined conversation.
You missed the solutions part.
Right.
So barley will knock out
I think what Hijack is trying to say.
Keep going, man.
Yeah, what are you trying to say?
Yeah, keep on going, HJ. Go for it. You got the table. You got the white feather. Go for it.
We're gonna do this right. 5 sentences, then we're gonna drink and pass the mic.
Yeah.
No, but what he's trying to say is we were waiting to mention something, our opinion on the nuclear power plants, and before we got a chance to talk, the conversation has now turned 4 or 5 more times.
Yeah, that's because...
Roundtable.
That happens. It
Goes
happens.
around and around and around.
Now, Jacker, you got the floor.
But I mean,
it's not going to work with all these alpha males and not having a system. But
no, it'll work
this
just
is for
fine.
you.
Have faith.
This is for you, actually, Rectify. There's a map of nuclear power plants, and the map is the footprint downwind of a nuclear power plant. All nuclear power plants have got this particular footprint map of a cancer cluster. So if you're downwind 15 miles, you can almost bet that there's a cluster, a cancer cluster, downwind from you, and there's a map somewhere floating around. And doctors are not allowed to actually endorse this map. It's one of those little dirty secrets of the nuclear power plant industry. And what Greek was saying, he was almost alluding that they on purpose nanosize whatever, the particles. And so that's the question I actually had for the Greek.
Thanks, Hijacker.
What's that?
You gotta say drink when you're done, Jack.
Hijacker got the hint. Thanks for bringing it up again, but I don't really want to further discuss it, if that's okay.
All right, cool.
The nano part.
What do we want to talk about? We have BPA.
Well, no, I think that Tones mentioned, and I also agree, that we want the Greek to finish what he was saying about the sea salt, the barley, removing the metals from our system, because that's a solution.
Okay, Hijacker made a good point. He's pretty sharp. He picked up a hint. Sometimes I'll try to give a hint, and it just doesn't, But he got it exactly. So you want to roll? You could take that, and you could roll with it. It's intentional. It's not happenstance. In other words, what's going on is not a natural function of such a structure or device. Now, what I wanted to say, you cannot discuss this in black and white. The reason why is because if you're downwind of a nuclear power plant and you got a massive deposit of iron, lodestone, it's going to knock it out, right? Mostly. If you got downwind from a nuclear power plant, you got high voltage power lines crossing it, it's going to rejuvenate it and make it even more lethal. Okay, so it's not like when they show you a map, there's so much detail that has to be put in there where someone can make an informed decision. And the only way someone can make an informed decision is by actually walking around and they're looking at their environment. Now, John Hutchinson suggested driving an iron rod in the ground and pouring water over it. Now, this might sound rudimentary and primitive. Okay, and but this is how simple some things can be. Look, have you guys ever been in the proximity of a nuclear power plant, like the roads that lead to it and such? Have you seen that? Have you been near one?
Oh, yeah.
You'll notice signs that give very vague and precautionary instructions in case there was going to be an emergency. Have you seen those signs? Okay. What's interesting is there's one up here in Arizona, and it was near a highway rest stop, and you could see the plant visually in the distance. And they're giving all these vague instructions in case of an emergency. And you know how there's like bathroom graffiti? Someone took a marker and diagonally wrote across the instructions: "Just bend over and kiss your ass goodbye." Right?
Yeah.
If there was an emergency.
Might take a while.
Yeah. Okay. So the thing is, which way is there to go? Neither one is correct.
Well, currently what we have is a global radiation problem. Over.
Yes, correct. And it's not that simple. It's not black and white. It's complicated. Because there's also the radiation that's streaming in cosmically through the fluid medium of space is increasing as well. There's a couple of people screaming from the top of their lungs about it. I can't give you a reference on the internet. It's been a couple of years since I've seen it. No one wants to listen. When they talk about global warming, everybody wonders, they think they're talking about the Earth, but that's another thing. But I would suggest for radiation is it's not black and white. Number one, proximity does matter, but it's not as clear as it's not linear. Number two, if you feel like you've been affected or might be affected, there are elements and foods and things you can take. Now, they talk a lot about iodine. Now, iodine, yes, it will work because it'll create a substitute in the sensitive organs, but iodine, don't forget, is a halide. It's a part of the halogen group elements, like fluoride, chlorine, chloride, bromine, iodine, they're all in the same group. And what do those elements do when you take them in the body? They calcify soft tissue. Arteriosclerosis most likely is caused by bromine in flour, fluoride in the water, and iodines, salt, and all this stuff, not the cholesterol that they tell you. So the
You guys still hear me?
Yeah,
I can. But,
Heather, you still there?
Same time.
Yeah.
That was weird.
Well, you know what? I love all you guys. It's marvelous to hear the quality of thought that is developing. And I want you to know that. At least one person is aware.
Yeah, well,
of that.
SJ, it could be a lot better if we came up with a system using the Skype box. Because I mean, Rick, he wants to mention something. He's been around. He's going on 50-some minutes.
Oh, why don't we give him the white feather right now?
Yeah, but see, what I'm saying is that there are some people, we're just trained. I'm kind of trained like Rick is. You just don't interrupt. You try. So it's like almost an involuntary mechanism to where I don't know what it is about it.
Well, in order to let somebody else talk, what you got to do is stop talking and let them
What
talk.
I'm saying is when you've got 5, 6, 7 people that have a lot of knowledge and are going in a certain direction, it's kind of difficult to just start interrupting people.
I think that my sentiments on this whole nuclear power situation is, regardless of any theories or scientific knowledge regarding radiation or anything, whoever designed such a way to create power had to be completely out of his freaking mind. Common sense would tell you, if we were powering with water wheels on the side of a
Ends
river
do
at
not
one
justify
point,
the means.
or dams, right, like the Hoover Dam and things like that, or wind power or something. Okay, if the water dried up or stopped, or if the wind didn't blow, or solar panels didn't work, millions of people are not going to die. And what blows my mind about the whole
Good
thing
point.
is that somebody at one point said, hey, I got this idea, but, you know, we're going to have some toxic things that come out of it that we're going to have to bury somewhere, because if anybody touches it, they'll get sick and die. And the other thing is, you know, if we ever had a problem with cooling this thing, it could, you know, blow up, and the wind and rain will carry radiation everywhere and kill thousands upon thousands of people. Now, why didn't people have common sense to say, you know what, when I come up with a bad idea, my wife goes click, click, boom, like shoots it down. I mean, to me, it sounds like an idea that some Illuminati freak who maybe wanted to see something go wrong down the line. And now we're at a position where we've got how many of these things? 300, 400, 500 of them all over North America. So, and we're facing the possibility of an EMP attack. So, it looks like, you know, if we get hit with an EMP, we won't have to worry about, you know, how much it's going to suck having to cook on a campfire or use candles, because given a few days when the backup generators run out, or if the electronical systems fail in these 300 to 500 nuclear power plants, everything is going to die. Because
Well, two things. First off, I don't think we have to worry about an EMP attack, and if we did, it ain't gonna. Everything stops all at the same time, because the EMPs, the nature of the EMP is that it fries everything, including the electronics that are a part of the connection of whatever your backup generator is.
Right, but if the
So
water...
if your backup generator could survive an EMP attack, it means the nuclear power plant's going to survive.
Unless you're using tube technology. But go ahead.
That's another point.
I'll tell you what we could do in terms of a solution, if you'd like me to interrupt with that.
The solution is shut them all down and find another way. The reason they're up there is because the Illuminati, the rich
Go ahead,
people,
SJ.
Well,
the
yeah, but
rich
that's still not
people
the solution.
want to
Find
make
another way
money.
is just the X in the equation.
Right.
We're solving for X.
Right.
You know, that's the thing.
Go
There
ahead,
are
SJ.
ways.
Well, here's the thing, gang. Maybe it's influenced by my experience, but what I've found is nothing happens quick, and what you got to do is chip away at it. And the thing I chip away at it is absolutely make sure that all of the nuclear reactors in the United States had adequate backup for their emergency systems, which they don't. Basically, and specifically, the cooling for the radioactive storage areas that they put the contaminated fuel rods, the used and really dangerous fuel rods in. Now, they have something for the reactors, but they don't have anything for the storage areas that's mandatory and long-term backup. And that would be an improvement. And
yeah, but there's no time, SJ.
You want to know the reality of that? I'm going to come out and say it. Screw it.
Go ahead.
I'd
like to put the thing on the table. So
do you know how they dispose of it? They might say they're going to bury it in some mountain and all that. That's not how they do it. They throw it in old ships and they sink them at that big rift, the big in the Atlantic and in the Pacific, where it goes 7-10 miles below the surface.
Marianas Trench.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And believe it or not, this might sound crazy to most people, so if you're a tree hugger, close your ears. That is actually the proper way to do it, because the closer this material goes to the center of the Earth, the less radioactive it becomes. Below 20,000 feet, it's rendered neutral. You take something that's hot on the surface, and you put it really deep underground with a meter strapped to it. It's gonna show neutrality when it goes down deep. If you take something that's not so hot, and you put it up in an airplane, or you go outside of the atmosphere, that thing becomes super hot, because these materials are directly related to the pressure zones on the planet.
All right, time's up. Mike goes. Where's it going, Heather?
What's your opinion, Hijacker?
There we go, Rick. Okay, go.
Hijacker, if I came up with an idea for a nuclear power plant and we looked at the downside of what could go wrong, what would you say if you and I and let's say the people here on this round table were the elite and we're deciding, we're friends with the oil companies and everyone else and we're the ones who call the shots. What would you say?
I would actually do exactly what they did, because nuclear power actually gave us the highest standard of living that we've ever had as a species with electricity worldwide. But now, so what I'm saying is that, yeah, let's go ahead and build and get this electricity, but then let's go alternative systems. And at this point, we have enough knowledge. We need to shut them all down and just probably, throw the nuclear material, put it on the moon. The moon's a dead place anyways.
Hey, wait a second. I object to that moon being dead. But anyway, go ahead.
Well, what I'm saying is that you can take a look at the moon, and it's basically...
There might be reptilians up there, though.
Hey, there's some pretty good produce up there. Don't knock it.
And I don't mean it. I mean, I'm not even kidding.
It appears to have a barren surface on the side of the moon that we can see. But we can't account for what we can't see. And guess what? We can only see one side of the moon at any given time from this perspective.
The astronauts have said when they went on their trips to the moon or around the moon that, they've seen alien spacecraft and alien beings up there. So there's other life up there, whatever it is.
Oh, yeah. Well, that's why we're in the position we're in, is that there is another species that's doing what they're doing. And they're just to the point now, they're done with us. Looks like, I don't know what the Greek is seeing where life is going to get better. I don't understand any of that. That's just so illogical.
It's in all the ancient scriptures. It's in the Bible. It's in every ancient culture. And these documents.
Not. That's childlike thinking.
It's not in there? Well,
can I interrupt for a moment, gentlemen?
Not this time, SJ. Overruled.
Okay. Well, let me have a crack at it. I got a good one. Go ahead,
buddy. Go ahead.
Okay. In the time I've been listening, I've heard 8 givens without any substantiation. So that means that we've sort of wandered off into la-la land, the land of maybe and possible, and we sort of strayed from reality. And if you guys want to do that, it's okay, but I think I'll bow out and make some coffee and listen to you do it.
What's
it's
not
sort
real,
of entertaining.
Well, I mean, you make a statement, it's not reality. What is not reality?
Well, I just gave you a really nice way of approaching a real situation with a really significant possibility of saving some lives through a relatively simple and achievable political process.
No, it's not, SJ.
Hold on.
No, come on. I mean, think about what you're saying. You're saying that over time we can chip at it and we can work this thing through and do petitions and slowly shut them down. There's not even any time left, SJ.
They should have been kept up and had backup systems from the beginning, don't you think? We should have had backup systems from the beginning.
Yeah,
chime in?
Yeah, go ahead.
SJ, I want to save the retreat that you might embark on. Stay here for
No, I'm willing to attack.
Okay. Hijacker will
play a
appreciate
song if
this.
you need to make some coffee or something, or just go make some coffee. We're all going to be here, man.
Yeah.
No.
Here's the thing, SJ, you're presuming that you're going to go and plead a case to humans.
No, I'm not. What I'm doing is proposing a way of thinking about a situation that's pragmatic.
Okay,
and
but hold on.
achievable.
Let me just finish this one thought. A hijacker will appreciate it. I'm not saying this so he would, but he will. And that is that the forces behind the inspiration of developing nuclear power is not human.
Bingo.
Over.
Bingo.
Okay, I'm going to go make some coffee. I love you guys.
Love you too, SJ. Have a good night, bro.
Yeah, be careful about those givens, that are thrown out there as fact. I mean, that's something I've been harping on for a long time. But come on,
well,
boys,
I mean, wait a minute,
tighten up your act there a bit.
Wait a minute, you won't defend any of your ground. None.
I don't have to. It's not a something that somebody has to do. It's an
can be
idea
proven.
that you can adopt.
No, you live in an
You guys
unlimited world.
did understand what I said, right? We
Yes,
currently
I
have all the nuclear reactors that you're worried about currently in the United States have no legal requirement to back up their cooling system for their rod storage. And it's a huge amount of rods, and they all, or at least a large percentage of them, we're not even talking about anything else, like the Columbia River in Hanford. That's another one right there. But in terms of preventing a huge catastrophe, we could make it mandatory that they have adequate cooling for those rods and the plants themselves, although that's mandated by law. So it's a possible fix for a serious threat. Okay.
And SJ, before you go.
Yes, sir. I'll stick around if you want.
I've had several hundred hours of discussions with a man whose job was to put on something that looked like a moon suit, and he was stuffed into a 42-inch stainless steel pipe at a nuclear reactor, and he was to weld for 42 seconds, and it was an upgrade. It was a live reactor. They would pull him out, send him home for a week, and come back, and they'd put him in a moon suit next week, and he'd go and do welding for 42 seconds, not 41 seconds, not 43 seconds, 42 seconds, pull him out, okay, and he did this for about 6 months, okay, and he was actually in a managerial position as well, but the critical nature of the welding, the critical nature of the welding was so important that he volunteered to go and do it. So what I'm trying to suggest here is that it's one thing to read stuff on the internet, and there's one stuff to read stuff in a paper, and especially from what's put out there. And there's another thing to spend time with an individual who has firsthand experience with working on these things, right? And the phenomenon that occur, and the attitudes, right? So imagine going to a job where that's 42 seconds, and you leave for a week, and you come back and you work for 42 seconds. And you get paid very well.
I got a buddy in prison right now in Maricopa County in Arizona. He gets paid 45 cents an hour to work in the kitchen, about 40 cents an hour to go work in the fields, and about 30 cents an hour to do masonry.
No, not 42 cents, 42 seconds.
Oh. I'm in wages.
I hope SJ got it. SJ, do you understand the... SJ, can you imagine getting a job where you get in a moon suit and you go to work and you only work for less than a minute, and then you go home for an entire week, and next week you show up to work and you work for less than a minute, 42 seconds. He was very...
Can I ask you, can I make a request? Would you get to your point?
Yeah, the point is, the hours of discussions that I've had with this man contrasted so greatly with the information that's being put out about these systems that it would make one run down the street naked and light their hair on fire.
Do you remember what the contrasts were?
Oh, we don't have enough time in 100 right.
Well, one would be fine. You don't have to be thrillingly verbose.
The nature of radioactivity itself, the nature of the efficacy of the toxicity.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, the things that you're being told are toxic are not as toxic as the things that you're told that are not being toxic. It's kind of backwards. Have you ever heard me say take anything and turn it upside down and now it's right side up?
Well, I've heard you state a lot of givens that are non-proven, and I will nag you about that probably as long as you do it. And you have made a very legitimate point. Reality, and especially someone who is face-to-face with it, has a different taste and certainly a lot more credibility. However, people who are expert in one field aren't necessarily expert in many others. And, to borrow a quote, all I know is what I read on the internet. Right?
Greek, do you carry a spare tire in your car?
Go ahead. If I could own such a thing, let's say I do.
Okay, how about everybody else on the round table? Do you guys carry a spare tire in case you have a flat? Yeah? Well, how come these nuclear scientists, wait a minute, don't have a backup plan that is fail-safe, is what I'm saying. I think maybe they want to see, maybe there's something wrong with them, or they are, like, either crazy or working towards an agenda that will destroy humanity and the planet. You know?
Well, the whole deal started out as uranium sales, for one thing. The Nazis had got together enough uranium to get us onto the bomb. That was one thing, and then people realized, oh, hey, this stuff is valuable. Look at how hard it was to get it. So uranium sales. By the way, the Queen...
That's right. Welcome, Michael Hemmingson. How you doing, sir?
Hey, do any of you guys have fire extinguisher in your house?
See you later, gang. I'm going to bail.
Fire extinguisher in your house?
The dude's their first shot at the mic. What up, Hemmingson?
What up?
How you doing tonight, sir?
Oh, I don't know.
What's on your mind?
My cat is dying here. I'm going to have to take him into the Humane Society tomorrow morning.
What's going on, man?
Man,
how old's your cat?
He's 12.
What's going on? What are his symptoms?
Well, I think he had renal or kidney failure. I mean, for the past 2 months, he's been drinking a lot of water. Past 3 weeks, he lost a lot of weight. Now he can't walk.
Oh, dude, I'm so sorry to hear that, bro.
So
you don't have any cars around that are leaking antifreeze or anything, do you?
What?
I said you don't have any cars around that are leaking any antifreeze that the cat might have drank, do you? Because that's the symptoms of
No, I looked up his symptoms and it's renal failure.
Okay. I was just wondering because that happened to one of our cats because a neighbor had a car that was leaking antifreeze and the cat licked it and...
Really?
Yeah.
Well, Michael, did you hear about the movie they're going to do for Revolution Radio? You writing the script?
No, I don't know anything about it.
Oh, you ought to write the script, Michael. It would sell. This generation, high tech, all mobile, listening to different radio stations.
Well, I'm already writing a script about you.
If you were smart, you would.
Hey, I think it would make a good movie, and you know who I think might be awesome to play it? What's the name of the actor who was in Mississippi Burning as a lawyer, and he's been in a ton of movies. The guy he's a wild party dude. was a big thing about him playing the bongos naked. I can't think of his name right now.
William Dafoe.
Huh? No. No, it's a handsome guy that, the chicks like him, and he's been in a ton of movies.
Tom Cruise?
Nope.
Brad
no, maybe let me look on.
You should be more specific.
All right. Well, how many guys have been in the news because the cops came to his house and he was smoking weed, playing the bongos naked? Somebody must know who I'm talking about.
Everybody in liberal Hollywood.
Woody Harrelson.
No. Oh. Matthew McConaughey. Annie just woke up and said Matthew McConaughey. I can see him playing a talk radio DJ, a role like hijacker. Matthew McConaughey, you know who I'm talking about?
Yeah, he's a horrible. I don't like him.
No.
You guys still watch TV, huh?
Who, us?
Yeah. I don't even know his names. Like, I might check out some celebrity babe every once in a while, like.
Guy's been in a ton of movies, man. Almost any movie he's been in went solid at the box office. He's a great actor. He's done comedy, he's done serious things. He was in,
So why not be a politician?
Well, the movie that Greek talks about all the time, the one with Jodie Foster about,
where she was a hitman?
He was in Contact. Remember? He had a relationship with Jodie Foster, kinda, in Contact. He played a lawyer in a bunch of different movies.
Yeah, you know what? He got like reamed on Family Guy for being in that film. It's just like, why were you in that movie? Like, they could have done the whole movie without your character's part in it.
Oh, yeah. He was good in Mississippi Burning, where the black guy was on trial and he was trying to, prove.
Dang it, Jagger just got out of here. I wanted to ask him if he was on the new laptop while he was broadcasting earlier. Anybody know?
I don't think so yet, but
thank you everybody for chipping in, man.
Was passable as a role, was Dazed and Confused, and I didn't watch enough of the film for me to care.
Yeah.
Right, solutions, not programming.
Well, we were talking about who would play hijacker in the movie because someone was talking about doing a movie.
Jagger would, man. Of course.
Melanakis. Andy
William
Melanakis.
Dafoe could play hijacker.
William Dafoe's a good actor. I liked him in everything he's been in. He can play a pretty good sinister actor. And
so I gotta this been me on my mind. I gotta speak up here. This whole moon thing that Greek brought up. If he doesn't mind sharing a little bit more about that, it's kind of captivated me because he's saying something about the distance and the size has been a lie.
Well, this is the type of measurements that have been used to measure the distance of the planets and the size of the planets is the same type of measurements they use to measure the height of mountains. And what's fantastic about it, they still have not made many adjustments in the past decade. The type of tools that they use, triangulation, and they try to account for refraction of the atmosphere and all of that, like basic theodolites, right, like surveying tools. If you look at the mountain peak altitudes, the records, and if you were to go on these mountains with accurate altimeters or GPS, you'll see a 5 to 10% discrepancy. And they use the same tools to measure the planets and as such. So it's very interesting as that needs to be revisited. Now, here's the interesting part, is the level of ability to measure them using other systems like light, right? For example, lasers and things like that still have limitations, but you can get a much more accurate result. And they have not been changed. They have not been upgraded. And you can prove this on your own. If you live near a mountain, look at the topographical map, give you an altitude, get yourself a quality altimeter, and if you really want to be scientific about it, get more than one, and you will see that you will have a major discrepancy between the altimeter, the height that you read, and what's been documented as such. Very simple.
So the moon, you are saying, is the same size as the sun?
Visually from the Earth, correct? Yeah.
Well, true. Visually from the Earth.
Right. It's a phenomenon. It's what makes the Earth so unique, isn't it?
So sure. So wait. So it's just a force perspective, which is not anything unusual. We all know that it's force perspective that makes the moon seem like it's the same size.
Correct. What makes it unusual is that we're presuming that it doesn't happen anywhere else. I mean, how many times has someone told you you're special and you ignore them and then wondering, well, you see, now how many hints do you want, right?
Well, I tell myself I'm special every day, so.
I know, but here's the point. You have some very unique things going on here, so. But I would explore the possibility of looking at a historical references on what has been reckoned as the height of mountains at a certain time, and also the diameters and distances of the celestial bodies, and go back and see if these measurements have been changed, because they should be, and they haven't.
Okay.
Do your own research on it. This is a whole other topic.
Absolutely, I will. So compared to the size of the Earth, based on your sources of information, how big is the sun? How big is the moon?
That's not the point. The numbers are not as important as the concept that once you realize that with using a different reference system, a different methodology of measuring altitude on mountains, you will see that most mountain peaks, if not all of them, are much higher than as they are recorded as such in reference documents, right? And then if you take that concept of what was used to measure the mountain altitudes and your own experience with measuring them all consistently to be 5 or 10% taller than it's stated, if you take that methodology and cross over and realize that the same methodology was used to measure these celestial bodies, it would be very simple to infer that these bodies are larger and further away than stated. Does it make sense?
Yes.
Okay.
Where are you reading this from?
This is a discussion I had with an engineer from Raytheon about a decade ago. I'm near what's called Mount Lemmon, and I had done this back in 2005 in an altimeter. We found about a 4 to 6% deviation in what was listed as the height of Mount Lemmon versus what the altimeters were reading.
Oh, okay.
Mm-hmm.
So then, how big is the moon then?
Don't know. We're waiting for an upgrade on the information. I don't have access to that kind of. The best way to measure the distance of the moon would be using a type of interferometry, right? Not just a visual. You know how surveyors use theodolites and basic trigonometry, and then they have certain correction factors for the gases in the atmosphere for refraction.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? It's far more complex to do that out there because you do have a fluid medium in space as well. It's just not as dense as air. So this would be a specialty that someone would have to embark on. I would believe that this information has already been garnered and gathered. Right down the street here, Raytheon was shooting many rockets out into space in the 60s to photograph, and with there were small rockets, and each one would have a very specific instrument, and they would just send them out there to see what was going on there before they embarked on the Apollo missions.
I was reading the other day that
the guys at NASA and whatnot, and the secret space programs and whatever, they do know the answers to these things. They're just...
Well, I would suggest they do, but I would also suggest why are we, if you would look at a mountain, let's say altitude reference from the 1920s and one today, they still list very similar altitudes, but if you do a little bit of research or actually were to embark on the actual process of measuring it yourself and discussing with people that are involved in this type of field where altitudes are important, you'll find it to be so. I just find it a little disconcerting that the records haven't been adjusted. No one's going to blame anyone for saying, hey guys, we've been measuring a certain way and we discovered there's shrinkage or whatever. Let's just adjust it. That's fine, but let's do it. Let's update it.
I was reading the other day that the Earth actually has a couple other moons, like little quasi-moons.
Oh, yeah. They could be further away. Mm-hmm.
Right.
Depends. Well, there's a suggestion that the Earth all the planets have rings around them. They may not necessarily be as saturated with particles as the ring of Saturn, but there is a zone there where things tend to collect and form an organized flow that we would recognize as a ring, right?
Well, that makes sense.
Yeah, and these things are taken into consideration, but again, I am waiting for a day when these things are at least more readily available, so you don't have to scratch out a door at someone who worked in the field and say, please, I'm interested in this subject, will you talk to me about it?
Hey, Greek, could I ask your opinion on something?
We got to actually close out the show, because
I just wanted to ask his opinion on one thing. When you look back 100 years and a doctor would cut someone's arm off in the Civil War or something, and people would develop gangrene, don't you think if we made it another 100 years, people would look back on the things that we're doing and say these people were freaking idiots? In a way?
Yeah, but in 100 years you'll have other concerns. Yeah, you won't be concerned about calling the previous generation idiots, but...
I mean, so why do the people and scientists think they're any better than people 50 years ago or 100 years ago?
They fooled you.
Yeah.
All right, Heather, close it up, guys.
All right, play Heather's thing.
Yeah, Heather, close it up real quick. Hurry, before we run out of time. Hurry.
Thanks for the time, guys.
I love you guys.
Hey, thanks. We'll see you tomorrow night.
Heather, Rick, Greek, Steve, SJ, Jacka, Michael Hemmingson. You guys are all freaking rock and roll in my world. But here's a clip I promised I'd play for Heather. So here we go.
It's Maharishi, and it's Ideal Relationships.
All right. Have a good night, everybody. Much love.
Friendship, marriage, relationships, all these find their fulfillment spontaneously in fully developed potential of the individual. If the individual has fully developed potential, he will enjoy friendship, relationships, marriage to the fullest extent. If the half potential is lived, then half enjoyment of the possibility through relationships, friendships, marriage, everything, half. If 1/4 potential is lively inside, then all the relationships, friendships, marriage, everything will be enjoyed in the 1/4 of the possibility. Possibility will be great, but the actuality of achievement will be only 1/4. One can be to others to the extent one can be to oneself only. If I can't have that fullness of life to myself, how can I be to others? Only in that measure, in whatever measure I am to myself. Therefore, the key to relationships is to take care of our own self. We meditate, and then our potentiality is being used more and more through practice, and then a time will come when we are using our full potential and we are fully developed heart and mind, and with fully developed heart and mind, all relationships will be enjoyed just because we are able to give maximum of ourselves to others. When we are able to give maximum from our side, we are spontaneously capable of deriving maximum from the other side. It's always that. mother gives maximum to the child, and then the child responds to the mother. It is the unrestricted flow of love from the mother's heart that nourishes the child, that brings...
All right, everybody. That was the Humpday Roundtable. Everybody have a great rest of the week. Enjoy your weekend. Time to Shine with Helena Phoenix coming up. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. Peace. Rectify out.
Thank you for listening to Revolution Radio.